So chapter 15, it's about the special senses. So in this chapter, we're going to learn the anatomy and physiology of the eye, the ear, the tongue, and the nasal mucosa from the olfactory system. And as well, we're going to see the integration of all of these or spatial sense organs with homeostasis. So the senses are the way by which the brain receives information about the environment. And then sensation is initiated when you have an stimuli that activates the function of one receptor. And this receptor is going to be a sensory receptor. Now, in order for us to be conscious of this, we have to have perception. And this perception happens in the cerebral cortex. Now, within our body, we have the spatial senses that includes smell, taste, vision, hearing, and equilibrium. Another name for taste is gustation, for smell is olfaction, and then for hearing is audition. So then, within these senses, we have specialized neurons that detects these specific stimuli, and it converts them into an action potential. That it is going into the brain, and then we can make sense of what is going on through awareness. And then you have these spatial senses that are located in small parts of our body, and that's why they're spatial. And they have sometimes complex processing pathways. As opposed to these spatial senses, we have also general senses. General senses bring general information that is conveyed from most of our body. Like we have touch, pressure, temperature, pain, and proprioception. We have receptors for all of these sensations or senses, for the most part, everywhere in our body. And then these receptors for these general senses are less complex than the spatial senses. So they are simple receptors, and they can be found in the skin, muscles, and organs. And these ones, they provide information about a stimuli that is found in the internal and the external environment. So that's the comparison between the general senses and spatial senses. Again, the spatial senses are found only in specific organs, like our eyes, our ears, our tongue, our nose. And then it helps us to have all these functions, and they provide something that's called a specialized sensory information. So first, the classification of receptors. So receptors can be subclassified into different types based on what type of stimuli they receive. So for instance, if they receive a physical stimuli, they will be called mechanoreceptors. And then they respond to bending, stretching, compression. Example, we have the hair cells in our ears that detects this vibration. So these are mechanoreceptors. Baroreceptors, they detect changes in pressure. We have it in different areas in the body, including blood vessels, and as well in internal organs, like the uterus, fallopian tubes, the stomach, etc., hollow organs. Chemoreceptors, they bind chemicals. Can be odorant molecules, can be taste molecules. So we have in our nose and also in our tongue receptors that detects these chemicals. So these are chemoreceptors. And then we have receptors that respond to extremes in temperature, which are called thermoreceptors, thermo for temperature. And then only in our retina, we have receptors that receive stimuli of light. These will be the photoreceptors. And then we have receptors that detect chemicals that stimulate pain. These will be nociceptors. And also these ones can detect mechanical signals that are extreme mechanical signals like extreme stretch or thermal stimuli. Examples of nociceptors, we have it at the base of the epidermis. This will be the free nerve endings. So here we have the stimuli detected, the structure of the neurons, and the location of the sensory nerves for general senses and special senses. So general senses, stimuli detected, touch, pain, temperature. You have receptive endings of the sensory neurons. These dendrites or these receptors. And then you have the action of neurons of spinal or cranial nerves for general senses. And then you have a synapse with a sensory nerve. And then you have here the spatial senses. So taste, you have a specialized receptor cell in your tongue that releases some neurotransmitters that activates these specialized receptor cells that brings this information into the gustatory cortex. And then we have photoreceptors for the eyes, hair cells, mechanoreceptors for hearing, same for balance, that detects head movement. So these are the stimuli, taste, light, sound, head movement. And then you have these specialized receptor cells, and then they communicate with another neuron that will be for these cranial nerves. In the case of light, will be cranial nerve number 1. For sound, will be vestibulocochlear. Same for head movement, vestibulocochlear. For taste, will be cranial nerve number 7, 9, and 10. And then for smell, which cranial nerve will be? Which is the cranial nerve that generates action potential so that we can know what we are smelling? Number 1, olfactory. And then this one connects in the CNS to this olfactory bulb and then the olfactory tract. So the location of these sensory nerves will be in the CNS for the ones that synapse with these specialized receptors that are found in the PNS. So the first sense, I cannot do it. Time's up.